Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
The fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9, 1989, marked the end of the Cold War and the beginning of a period of geopolitical optimism. The Soviet Empire disintegrated, the great powers unified Germany, and Europe began its movement to a common currency. David E. Wheeler, who served as chief of the CIA's Berlin Operation Base, known in the trade as BOB, and Sergei A. Kondrashev, a former KGB lieutenant general and its ranking German specialist, joined together and began comparing newly declassified Cold War records.
My name is Josh Goldberg. I grew up in Naperville, Illinois. I'm an archivist with the Central Intelligence Agency. I've been working here for about 6 or 7 years. My job it's not that exciting. I mean, it's pretty fun sometimes when we get to go out in the field, but, you know, I'm in the library most of the time. Let's see, we have a new assignment. I'm working with the KGB. I don't know if you know this, but after the liberation and the wall came down, the CIA and the KGB have been trading information and comparing notes, and occasionally we will go out for beers, and it's been good. It's been an excellent project. I'm very happy here.
As the CIA and the KGB began sifting through Cold War communications, they found that there were more questions than answers. Originally, it was believed that some agents had gone rogue or switched sides. Now it seemed that some operatives just simply disappeared.
You know, I've always been able to tie up loose ends on just about every project except this one. I mean, I'd worked on that the Romano archives, which was that was like a 3-year assignment, very tough. But this one is a little bit tricky. You know, I'm studying basically about this operation. It was run by Lieutenant Baker. He ran a listening post in Berlin, and it basically targeted Russians. I have my notes here. You know, it was basically 13 average soldiers just posing as family men. They were actually highly trained men, but they were really espionage agents. They seemed like average Joes, but they were information-gathering killers.
Wary of the treacherous double agents that ran Berlin's underground, Baker chose to set up his new operation in a small town called Worms. It was situated on the Rhine River. This proved to be an effective means for discreet passage. The agents lived among the soldiers, pretending to be typical U.S. Army recruits. Some in the group rented pleasant apartments outside the Army base. On Sundays, they'd often picnic with their wives along the scenic Rhine. There wasn't a war, so there was very little to be done.
Well, in 1958, my parents were over in Germany. My dad was in the Army, but, you know, there wasn't much going on at that time, so they sort of just hung out over there for a few years.
I mean, I'm sure they were doing more than just hanging out, don't you think?
Well, I mean, whatever you do in the Army when there's no war going on, you know?
Yeah, exactly. What do you think they might have been doing? I think he was a spy. I don't know. That's what I think.
He wasn't a spy.
I don't know. You don't
I think I would know if my father was a spy.
Why? Maybe that's exactly why you don't know. Why else? You don't know any details. They didn't do anything. They just lived
I think at the very least, all these years later, he would have told somebody. My mother would know, and she would have told me. Like, I think I would know if my father was a spy.
I don't know. I don't put it past him. I mean, he just might be one of those old school kind of, you know, what's
my
secret?
Father was not a
What
spy.
happens in Germany stays in Germany.
Many of Baker's operatives never revealed to their families the real reason they were stationed in Germany. By 1959, the city of Berlin began to unravel. U.S. intel began to rely on Baker's dozen more and more with the passing days. Their crucial dispatches have never been publicly revealed, until now.
Let me give you some examples of some of their code dispatches to headquarters. Clams 2, Table 5. We've kind of studied this one for a while. It was actually Clams 5, Table 2 for a while. But, you know, I've done my research and it was actually Clams 2. This is what we learned that it meant. I'm just going to read from this. It's East German Chancellor Walter Ulbricht received the go-ahead from Nikita Khrushchev to commence building the wall between East and West Germany. So we're pretty sure that's what it means. There were 2 other codes. The next one is called "We'll be upstream by morning." And we'd spend a lot of time trying to figure this one out because we'd actually traveled up the Nile when we were doing retracing Rommel's step. Actually, I don't even know if Rommel went down the Nile, but we did that anyway. It meant, let's see here, the Soviets were on the move and amassing resources for large-scale construction in the eastern sector of Berlin. We got that off of a hunch.
It was the agent only known as Creep Mouse who sent the final dispatch.
The last code we never knew. That's no $10 football. Baker's Dozen, as they were known, had been recalled in 1961, right when the Berlin Wall went up. And it just became too dangerous. There were a lot of spooks and ghosts and moles, and for them to continue to stay at the listening post, it didn't make any sense. They wouldn't get enough pre-work done.
We looked to recently declassified documents to understand who these men were. Pokey Puppy was a corporal from Bloomington, Indiana. Piggly Wiggly had attended Princeton. Both Mr. Wiggles and Boo Boo Bunny had degrees in political science. And then there was Creep Mouse.
So this is where I came in. The KGB and the CIA had recorded that 12 men had come back, but they didn't notice the discrepancy. And if you had been to any bagel shop or bakery or donut shop or a Cinnabon or a bakery, you'd find that a baker's dozen often means 13. Sometimes you ask for 12, they throw a 13th in there. And so that was the discrepancy. This Creep Mouse was the 13th bagel.
Who was Creep Mouse? Some thought he was a highly placed intelligence officer, originally put in with Baker's men to babysit the operation. His skill and success rate were unmatched. He anticipated every move the Soviets made.
I had a hunch about one soldier who remains uncounted, but I couldn't tie him to Creep Mouse. His name was DuChano. I chased that ghost for years. I looked at KGB and NSA and CIA documents and some other archives that I'm not at liberty to talk about. I tried to find a match, and then really just one night, sort of unexpected in a remarkable place, I found that connection. It was at my neighbor's kitchen.
Well, the one reason why I kind of had my suspicions about what they were all doing over there in Germany. Do you remember that party we had?
Oh, the Christmas party?
Yeah.
Oh, when we invited our neighbor, Josh, right? Yeah, that guy Josh. So I think he works for the CIA.
Yeah, he's a CIA
right?
guy. Yeah. And, you know, he's just like this total clean-cut, the exact CIA look that you would expect. And nice guy. We didn't really socialize with him too much, but what was it? It was a Christmas party.
Yeah, right? Christmas party. But then he went into the kitchen at one point.
Right.
And he saw that postcard.
We were going. Yeah, there was a
from one of my dad's friends in the army, because he does still occasionally get stuff from his buddies from when he lived over there.
Right, and this postcard was, you know, this nice postcard from this guy we had occasionally heard from, but I don't even know if I ever met him. Maybe you had.
No,
but,
I don't think I have.
It was a drawing of a manger, I think it was. You know.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, that sounds
right. It was. It was DuChano. DuChano was the name on it. It was right on the bottom of the drawing, and and the card was from him. So Josh, who, you know, he's one of those guys who seems like he's always at the office, even if he's sitting in your living room. You know, he saw this and he had this look of amazement. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And didn't he ask if he could borrow? If he could take it?
I think he did borrow it. Right.
That's right. You know, I don't think we ever got that back from him.
I took the handwriting samples from Creep Mouse's dispatches and I compared them to the handwriting on DuChano's card. I can tell you a little bit about the similarities, like the O, but the other parts I really am not at liberty to talk about right now. I'm under sort of a 3-month probation at work, and so I just really have to watch what I say.
Goldberg took the signature on the Christmas card and had it analyzed. He compared it to the handwriting found on Creep Mouse's coded messages. What he saw was astonishing.
Did you ever find what you needed?
Oh yes. Creep Mouse was DuChano.
Answers that lead to still more questions. What was Piggly Wiggly's connection to Watergate? Why was Boo Boo Bunny at the Bay of Pigs? Is Mr. Wiggles the same Donald Rumsfeld? And of course, the biggest question remains unanswered. Where was DuChano?
What else he took that day?
That's right. He took the Christmas card, and then we finished the eggnog and started counting the silverware because we knew Goldberg, that Sticky Fingers Goldberg, the prick. He's a CIA guy. Can't play harmonica to save his life. He's an awful musician. That's why he's in the CIA. I think he has a mustache now, doesn't he?
Oh, did you want the lyrics?